I think Old Church is at the top of Devon's Road. That's where Tesco began. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Philip Green.
Well, there's a huge one there in Bromley.
Well, Philip Green started with a wheelbarrow in Devon's Road, and I remember him.
Crazy. And now he's got this
It was
And
this
now he's got
empire,
that.
the huge.
What do you?
Now
I
it's
know.
this huge empire.
I never go in it. I hate it.
Oh, really? Because it's so.
Well, it's a
big.
con now, isn't it? It's nothing to do with food.
Mhm.
Wherever they go now, it's just to get the property. Look at the money they're making from selling property. Attached. It's considered the ugliest building in England. Did you know that?
Oh, really? There was an official.
They're not interested in selling tin of beans anymore. If you're selling food, would you put it on the first floor? Everybody has to go up in a lift. And gosh, about 20 aisles. People like, I go simplicity, where I know exactly what I want. But no, the bigger isn't better as far as I'm concerned. I could say it's become more vibrant. I mean, from the business point of view, there were 7 shoe shops in Power Street. There were far more shops, and there was a department store called Cubs, and then it changed gradually to cheaper and cheaper types of shops, and the departmental shop closed. See, I was in business then. It was quite different, but I wasn't living in Woolwich, and I didn't actually live in Plumstead, which is just up the road, until we got the rent went up from the shop.
Okay.
And I took in students when I was there with the 10 rooms from the Thames Polytechnic, and I charged them £5 a week and did their washing as well.
Wow.
You imagine that?
Wow.
And they came from all over the world and stayed there. And of course, when we had to move, I don't know where they all went. And I've got to take some credit for the tram shed being here. It was going to be pulled down. And some students came into my shop. One was Sophie, I always remember her. And they said, we want to save the tram shed. And I said, what do you want me to do? And they said, can you give us some money to buy paint? We want to do it up so we can convince the council it's worth keeping. And they did that, and I gave them clothes and everything, and they decided not to pull it down.
Great.
And I've forgotten that.
Nice.
From the point of view as a resident, when I had to give up the shop, I needed somewhere to live. My husband by then couldn't stand this area, and had gone off and was living in Deal in Kent. And we were still friends, and we weren't divorced or anything, but he couldn't stand living here. Thought it was too rough. It was then. Very rough. I'll give you an example. So I wrote to the council and said, and because everybody knew me in Woolwich, that I was okay, I got this premises, but I didn't think I could continue, and what would happen if I had to move quickly. And they came down the next day practically and said, oh, please come and live in one of our flats. We want people like you. We want to turn them around, and we were trying to attract people like you. And I said, where is it? And he said, Barnfield. Oh my God. It had the most notorious name. They used to dump everybody who was a problem there. And so I said, oh, I couldn't. Oh, please, you can choose any flat you like in anywhere on the estate. And so in the end I gave in, and I said, I went there and I chose this flat on the first floor, and I paid the full rent and months so that I had somewhere to go when we closed there, which had to happen. And we moved there. Of course, I had a car, which was broken into practically every day, and the place was broken into too. This is the most poignant and dramatic change that I've noticed, to do with being a resident more than being in business. And that is that whether it was for convenience sake, they put all people who had problems on that estate because they had them all in one place, or whether it was that they were the only people who would accept living there, I never found out. But it was so rough, I can't tell you.
What is that place called?
Barnfield.
Barnfield.
And I've worked for years since on the committees and everything. It's completely changed. But when I first went there were no immigrants. There were English, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, gypsies, no immigrants. And it was absolutely, you could park anywhere because no one would park because there was always vandalism. Whereas now you cannot park even if you live there because it's so safe, everybody comes. But I made friends with, I didn't look at anybody as though I thought they were up to something. I didn't look accusingly at people, and people respected me in a funny way. And I could go past a gang of boys in dark, and even today I can do that. And they've grown up, but then even if you knew that they were going to try and take my bag or something, I could tell they wouldn't because some of them knew me and they kept the law and order. But since they've all grown up, the interesting thing is that when I go past a group of boys now who are men, suddenly one will turn around and say, "Hello, Grandma." And it's somebody I knew as a child. And so I'm quite safe there because if there is a gang, they know they don't touch Grandma. But I was always there if they had problems. I helped them with education, and I made a friend of everybody. And that went on for years. And then the immigrants started coming. And the interesting thing was that those people that I'd mentioned previously didn't want to live with immigrants. And they all asked for transfers. And one by one they got them. And what I observed was that as the immigrants came in, they didn't have dogs, they didn't smoke, they didn't drink, they looked after their children, and gradually, and they took care of the properties, and gradually the whole area changed. And it is still like it today. Unfortunately, the name and the reputation hasn't changed. People on the council, people who come and deliver, still, Barnfield, they expect it to be as it was. When they actually come there, they can't believe the difference. And I'm a leaseholder now, and quite a lot of the people around me are leaseholders. We have, I think it's 11 nationalities on the estate, and we all get on well. All the trouble that comes to the estate are gangs who come in and out trying to use it. That's mainly the council's fault. They've now renovated all the properties, but they haven't renovated the circumference, finished off the railings, but they're going to eventually. So this estate looks more exclusive. because at the moment anybody can walk on, and they do. But even coming here today, I went past what you would say was a dubious group of boys, and one of them turned and said, "You all right, Grandma? Can I see you across the road?" You see, so that how you treat people when they're small, when they grow up, it rubs off, you see. And now, the only trouble you have now, and all the time I was on the committees, was trying to change the image. And people today won't deliver. They think they're going to be robbed if they come to Barnfield. Because there was a problem, they thought they could solve it by putting railings stopping us from walking through. And I was so angry, I rang up the fire brigade and said, "This is a fire hazard now. We can't go the quickest exit. This is all done because of kids who come here, don't live here. Why don't you sort out the kids' problem? Don't encase us." And this chap from the fire brigade was the head one, and he said, "Well, what do you expect on a crime-ridden, run-down estate like this?" So it permeated in. Even when they had things for the children and council workers came down, I'd be standing there and they wouldn't know I was a resident. And they said to me, "Oh, I didn't want to come down here. I thought it was a bit rough. It's all right, isn't it?" And then they didn't know I was a resident, and they were council workers. One man got a sack in the council because of talking disparagingly about the area. And so I've tried to get the name changed, but it hasn't happened. But if you went there now, you can't believe you can hear a pin drop. There's no rowdiness, only nobody gets drunk, no dogs barking, and your car's not broken into. And people take a pride in their homes and in everything that's going on. But the name's still stuck, I'm afraid. And my friends used to say, "Why do you live there?" And I used to say, "I'm living in voluntary poverty." And do you know, I've lived in beautiful places, and I've lived in the last place I had drawing room, sitting room, dining room, everything. And I'm happier here than I've ever been. Because when you get older, shops are near, everybody knows you. I must have a sip of water. I've got a neighbour, Shahina,